I guess the best way to begin retelling this story of our family dynamic would be to start at the beginning and explain the groundwork for their evolution. The family has always been in a kind of fluid state, and often that is usually in some state of fluctuation. I might best describe it as the flow of the surf. The family moves through life as each member experiences their individual tidal changes. As I grew older, this family had always managed to exist unhinged, but in reality, that was a stage settling over 2 decades. This family kind of defined how it was to be on the day my parents got married. The family has related these stories over the years, and my brother Lucas and I heard the stories a few times over that period. The family has related these stories over the years. First of all, the family has evolved from what has been defined by some family members as a shotgun wedding. The wedding had several different unique qualities that really did not match the decorum of a traditional wedding. Occasionally, I'm told that in the end, the whole event became a beautiful event in a seaside setting, just 50 yards from the beach. The event began about an hour late because the bride and her family spent over 2 hours getting the bride to be some kind of picture-perfect representation of a wedding magazine cover page. The consensus is that it worked. I have seen the pictures. The ceremony went perfectly, and the guests were pretty much over the waiting of anxiety as the wedding ceremony went perfectly. The bar was always open for all. Then after the ceremonial feast, the festivities and music went all Brazilian. At some point, I was told my mom went into a Brazilian party mode, and after the festivities went to the dance floor, my mom attacked the gift table. It has been described as a 5-year-old Christmas morning facing a huge pile of gifts under the tree. Mom tore these treasures with a great deal of exuberance, and the stories told that the wrapping paper was flying everywhere. My grandfather described her as a character of Ralphie in the Christmas Story in the end regarding all the unorthodox ceremony traditions. I am told the wedding was a great success overall, except for my mom's Brazilian music from the disc jockey. I mention this segment of presentation here because this is how the story begins. This is how the story has been vividly passed on to me. Cathartic but organized and managed by my dad to keep the festivity comfortable for all of us. It was told as a sign of things to come in the future. Every good story has heroes. Every good story has a hero or even heroes. Many heroes are quietly heroes, and they are forced into the background of a story that does not appear prominent because heroes are often realized after the fact, and can be part of which is unspoken. My grandfather states that the biggest hero, in his opinion, is my dad. Family stories reveal that he rambled around socially after college for most of a decade. He kind of embraced his freedom, focusing on living, but he did not stop sharing his life from his family. My grandfather always said it comes with a passage of time and a point of your life. Overall, experiences were amazing, as I'm sure that he survived the upbringing of childhood. For a dad, I'm told that it started at the beginning of school as a young child. He demonstrated a compulsive interest in learning and accomplishing things. My grandfather said that he always set out tasks for himself that he would strive to accomplish. Did he always succeed? I would have to say that he did most of the time. There were a few failures to accomplish what he set out to do. Talk about the real hero. My dad emerges over the last 4 or 5 years. These are the years when the demise of marriage took a more rapid pace toward failure. During these years, he managed to survive what I call the wrath of a witchy woman. I know that sounds dramatic because inside my mom was a very loving and caring personality, but she had many traits of an alter ego, which would conscientiously attack my father with little to no rational reasoning. My mom was very materialistic, The stories of her selfishness could go on and on, of her resentment toward my father. At times, he could just say that he could not accommodate her. These periods of time brought out the worst in her personality disorder and often resulted in some kind of physical reaction. It might be striking out physically at my dad or simply be destroying something for the sake of having a tantrum. I remember an incident with my mom which I first really confronted her about abuse. She decided to destroy my computer, which was important to me in that time of my life. It still would be even now. She was adept at finding weak spots and attacking them through sheer resentment of not getting her way. Vesson lies, the hero of my dad, tolerated these kinds of behaviors for decades, and he did this because he loved her and the family. I understood why he could not subdue some of this adversity built into her personality, but as time went on, I think he recognized what was truly a mental illness. I must admit that I have found that of all the children that had survived the first stages of the family, me and my brother Lucas were introduced to a lot of unexplained complexities in the family mindset. I spent many years observing the relationships of my family that I could see and read a lot into what I heard. There were countless dialogues that I and my brother had with my grandfather during these periods of growing up and adjusting to what was a very dysfunctional setting at times. Sometimes written words sound cruel because they are presented as a narrative to what you've seen, heard, and lived. My middle brother is a good example of someone who ultimately was impacted. His eventual survival of the relationship with the events surrounding this time living with my mom has taken a toll in rebuilding his life the best way he can. However, my grandfather says that I should be considered heroic in many ways too. He says I have managed skills necessary to avoid regular emotional conflicts with others. He believes I do not particularly feel comfortable challenging people. I am certainly not comfortable with reminiscing about negative aspects of my life. He considers me to be heroic because of my tolerance. He says that it's time for me to maintain a heroic path by examining who I am. I guess I have tolerated far more negativity than I could possibly imagine tolerating. But it has taken a toll, and he feels that I have begun to rebuild my personality and accept my family flaws. I need to build on my strengths. Survivors and heroes and I have unfavorably dealt with difficultness in the past 5 years in my life. I won't go into detail on that because I already am aware of what I have accomplished and survived. This brings me back to my dad, the previous hero. He has much to do with my ability to find my way through this and help me to survive the best way I can. Boom, thank you.